In this section, we'll show you how to add a new borrower. You can add a new borrower from either the checkout window or the check-in window. The menu processes are the same. But before registering a new borrower, first perform a search to make sure the borrower doesn't already have a card. Open up the circulation folder in the navigation bar. Open up the Process Checkout window, and you are now in Checkout as evidenced by the tab labeled Checkout. To search if the borrower is existing, go up to the menu item Borrower, click on that, and click on Find Borrower. Our borrower's last name is Door, first name Max T. And this particular search is an alphabetical search by last name. Type in the last name, comma, Max T, click OK. The search brings a list of borrowers back in that alphabetical range. As you can see, Max T. Door does not exist as a current borrower. Click Cancel, which brings you back to the search screen. Click Cancel again to bring you back to Checkout. Now let's enter the information for the new borrower. Go back up to the menu item Borrower, and this time go down to New Borrower. Click on that. You are now at the registration screen for a new borrower. All information is entered in uppercase. The first area is the barcode. You can either scan in the barcode number or type it in. Name. The format is last name, comma, first name, initial with no periods. So we'll be entering Door, comma, Max T with no period. The next area, addresses, is a blank, meaning there can be multiple addresses for this borrower. The address type perm, standing for permanent, is always checked by default. The other address type is temp, standing for temporary. For example, if you have a borrower who has a temporary address during the winter months because he or she is going to Florida. Let's enter in the first permanent address. Line 1 is for a post office box or apartment number if there is one. If there isn't, just enter in the street address. 123 Main Street. We're not using lines 2, 3, and 4. Going to the next field, city-state. Here you will be entering a city code rather than the actual name of the city. To find the appropriate code, enter the first few letters of the city. Our city in this case is Saginaw, so if you enter SAG, you'll see that this code is an existing code for Saginaw, Michigan. The city and state have popped up alongside the code. Well, let's say you don't have a city code that's existing. Let's say the city is Sequin, Michigan. If you type in SEQ, nothing is popping up so far. Click on the Codes button, which will take you to an alpha listing in city code order. SEQ, at first glance, doesn't appear to be an established city code. Scroll down the list, looking at the cities. Scroll up, and I don't see it. Click Cancel. We know we don't have an established city code for Sequin. Instead, we're going to type in TEMP, standing for temporary. Now we'll go back up to line 4 and type in the actual city and state. We'll enter the zip code here. And then you will follow up with your library's procedures to request a new city code for Sequin, Michigan. The next area is Notice By. This is where you tell Horizon how to send the borrower's notices. There are two choices: Standard, which is the default, marked by the radio button, or Email. Standard means the notices will be sent through U.S. postal mail. Email means it will be sent electronically. If you choose Email, you will need to also enter the email address, but be sure to enter it correctly with no white spaces. In this case, we're going to leave Standard marked. As I mentioned, a borrower can have multiple addresses, such as, in this case, Mac's door goes to Florida for the winter, so he wants his mail sent to the Florida address. To enter a second address, click on the New button. You'll see the message, Insert after currently displayed record. In this case, we want to say yes. And now, instead of permanent, for this second address, we're going to indicate that it's a temporary address by clicking on that radio button. As I mentioned, Mac's door goes to Florida from December to March, so that's the period of time we want these notices to be sent to this second address. So in this case, the beginning date is 12/01/11, and the ending date is March 31st, 2012. And again, if we have a post office box, which we do in this case, we'll enter it in line 1. Now, the format is P.O., no space, then a space, box, and the number. Line 2 then is for the street address. Line 3 and 4 are passed over. City, state code. Our city is Oakville. Let's type in Oak to see if we bring up an established city code. We are not. It's Oakley, Michigan, not Oakville, Florida. To find if there's an existing city code, click on the Codes button, and you are brought into the alpha listing of city codes. Just a quick scroll up and down reveals that there is not an established city code for Oakville, Florida. Click on Cancel. Again, we're going to request a temporary space OAK and type in temp for temporary. We'll go back up to line 4 and type in the city and the state, Oakville, Florida. Go back down to postal code and type in the postal code. Now in this case, for the second address, Mr. Dorr wants the notices to be sent as email, so click on the radio button for email and fill in the email address. Now we've entered the second address, and that is evident by going back up, and you can see that there are now 2 of 2 addresses in this blank. To look at any one of those, just click on the pull down arrow, highlight it, and you can now see this is the first permanent address we've added. Pull down the arrow again to look at the second address. Now leave it on the first address. ID. This is a second ID. Follow your library's policy of what to enter here. The next section is called Phones, and this is a blank also, meaning there can be multiple phone numbers for this borrower. So the phone number is area code, and phone number type. To find that, click on the Codes button and look through the list, finding the one that pertains to this phone number. This is a home phone, no telecirc. Highlight it, click on OK. To enter a second phone number, click on New. Again, the message, insert after currently displayed record, choose yes, and enter a phone number here. This might be the Florida phone number. Phone type, again, click on the Codes button, highlight the appropriate code, click OK. Again, we have 2 of 2 phones. Look at any one of them, click on the down arrow, click on the appropriate phone number. Second one. I'll leave it on the first. Next field is birth date, format is MMDDYYYY. Let's enter a birth date of 06/07/1953. B-type. B-type. B-types are classifications of borrowers set up by library and may determine circulation privileges, such as the loan period, fine rate, and what can be checked out. Click on the Codes button and scroll through the list, highlighting the appropriate B-type code for this borrower. Once highlighted, click on OK. The next area, stat classes. This is a blank also, which means there can be multiple stat classes for this borrower. Stat classes are commonly known as B-stats. B-stats stands for Borrower Statistical Classes, and they are codes that are set up to generate statistics for your library. These statistics can be based on age, geographic location, or whatever your library has decided. To find the appropriate stat class, click on the Codes button and scroll up and down. In this case, we want this stat class. We're going to highlight and click OK. If we have a second stat class, click on the New button, scroll through the codes again, and let's try and find an appropriate second stat class, AD Male. Click on that and click on OK. As you can see, we have 2 of 2 stat classes. So look at any one of them, click on the pull down arrow, click on the appropriate code. The next field is expiration date. This is pre-filled in with a date based on the B-type you selected earlier. This is the date the patron's card will expire. If need be, you can manually change the date here, but follow your library's policy. Depending on monitor size, you may or may not see the full screen. In this case, you can see we are on page 1 of 2. So to go to the second page, click on Page Down. Driver's license number, enter the number here if it's your library's policy to put the driver's license number in. ID number, school, guardian, and borrower note. Fill these fields in according to your library's policy. PIN number. A PIN number is required to log into HIP. Fill this in according to your library's policy. Most libraries use the last 4 digits of the borrower's phone number. A PIN number can be changed by the borrower once they are logged into HIP. Approved. This is always checked by default. If it is not checked, the borrower will not be able to check anything out. Now you can go back up by clicking on Page Up, and review the information to make sure it is correct. Once you're satisfied with the accuracy of the information, go down to the bottom and click on the Save button. Then click on the Close button. The screen now displays the new borrower's name along with the B-type.